Thank you very much. Very nice. I might say this has been a busy week. I've been running up and down between here and Los Angeles. The Indian ambassador came to Los Angeles and visited Mount Washington Center. He's a very, very nice gentleman. He was quite impressed, for I know he felt the spirit of the Master at Mount Washington. And last night there was a banquet in the Biltmore, and I'm glad to say that self-realization was given its just and due recognition at the head table. That is the first time that has been done, and I was very happy to see that. Certainly the Master's work should receive the greatest recognition. Even at a political meeting, it should bring it in somehow. And so it has been done. So I arrived in this morning, I think around 3 o'clock, and I was thinking of this subject that I might be a good testimony, could give a good testimonial of overcoming nervousness, which is the subject this morning. But I find that if you just let God do it, let Him take care of you, there's nothing greater than that in taking care of nervousness. Overcoming nervousness. I think that's a very prevalent disease, if we can call it that. Most everybody is nervous, more or less. The definition, I notice, says that nervousness is a state of consciousness characterized by depression and unrest due to the fact of the instability of nerve action. That is, the current in the nerves gets out of adjustment. There's an overstimulation there. And that overstimulation is what causes the trouble. It burns out the nerves, or at least injures them to a great extent. Now, this nervousness may extend from just a little jitteriness when you see some other lady with the dress you thought was the only one. You see her wearing that, you get jittery. To the fact of extreme nervous exhaustion, nervous breakdown. Anything in between comes under the category of nervousness. And so we must learn somehow this morning to overcome that nervousness. The nerves, you know, make up the communication system of the body, and in those nerves we find that there is a current flowing. Those nerves carry the motor and sensory impulses of the body, and also the finer currents of the astral nervous system and the real fine subtle currents of the mental nervous system. Those currents are overstimulated, or rather the tissue that carries those currents is injured by the overstimulation of the inharmonious flow, remember, of the different currents in the different nervous systems. So that when we have this, then we have the burning out of those nerves or the impairment of them, so that they cannot carry the natural flow of life force, nerve energy, and subtle pranic energy. Now remember this is important. The ultimate cause of disease depends on the amount of current in the nervous system. The ultimate cause of disease depends upon the amount of current in the nervous system. By that I mean if the nerves are injured and disrupted and burned out, how can How can the current flow naturally? It cannot. We can see that. So remember, the greatest thing is this, that your bodily health depends on the amount of current in the various nervous systems. Now, in the astral nervous system, we have those two currents, the era and pengular current. And I remember the Master saying distinctly that the amount of current in the era and pengular current determines rather the bodily health. So that's why the nervous system is so important, and we should understand a little bit about it. How can there be an optimum flow of nervous energy, subtle current, when the nerves are burned out or at least irritated? It's just like a water pipe. If the water pipe is kinked, disrupted, or filled up with rust and so forth, how can it carry the water? It cannot. Just so, the nervous tissue cannot carry the nervous current, the subtle currents, unless those nerves are repaired, allowed to be repaired by the great forces within us, so that the current can flow evenly. Now remember, that's all the cause of nervousness. Just that one thing. The nerves do not carry in a harmonious way the subtle currents that are supposed to flow within them. So we have to correct that condition if we are to overcome nervousness. That's the primary cause. Overstimulation of the nerves. Overstimulation of the nerves causes the irritation and finally burns them out. They cannot stand the tremendous amount of life force. Not only stand the amount of it, but the quick flow of it back and forth. You get mad and the current flows back and forth, irritates the nerve. Irritates not only the physical nerves, but the nerves of the astral nervous system and the mental nervous system. They're all connected together. They're all one. So, just a little elaboration of the cause of nervousness. It means any overdone action. Remember, any overdone action in sex, in eating, in working too hard, in temper, extreme emotion, those things cause what? An overstimulation, that's all. Overstimulation. That injures the nerves and sometimes, in an extreme case, burns them out. And as you know, in the case of anger, anger can produce even death. And so remember, as the Master used to say, we have one nervous system. You've got to take care of it, for no electrician can repair it. He should have added, we have three nervous systems. We have the physical, the astral, and the mental. Or the right order is the mental nervous system, the astral, and the physical. Now they're all interconnected. They're all interconnected. What affects one affects the other. That's why it's important to know just a little bit about these three nervous systems. They're all interrelated if you can cure. If you can cure one, it helps the other. They all come from the great mental or the mind of God. Remember that. Now in your dream you can produce the three sets of nervous systems. So, by merging in His presence, His consciousness, realizing that they all come from the great mind of God, we can cure those. Why not? We just have to do it, that's all. And realize what we are doing, what we have to do. There are three, as I have said, nervous systems. Mental, astral, and physical. Let's start with the physical. Just a few facts about each one so that you'll know what you've got to do. Now the physical nervous system you are somewhat familiar with. We have the brain, the spinal column, and the sympathetic nervous system around that spinal column, plus the telephonic system made up of the different nerves of the body. Now basically that's the background of the physical nervous system. Once more, we have the brain, but we have two brains. Every nervous system has two brains. Physical, astral, and mental. I will show you. Now in the physical nervous system, the two brains are the forebrain, the cerebrum, and the cerebellum. The spine has the deep spine, deep within the spinal cord. Then it has the superficial spine made up of the sympathetic nervous system. And then finally, we have the telephonic wires, or the different nerves of the body. Now, what is the function of the nervous system? You know, it is the communication system. It coordinates everything in the physical. Now, what is the matrix of the physical nervous system? Remember, it is matter, material thing. That's important. Now, let us go on just for a moment to the astral. The astral nervous system. There we have the same things now. We have the brain, brain, the spine, the astral spine with its two divisions, just like in the physical, the deep spine and the superficial. Then we have the telephonic system, the astral telephone wire, so to speak, which conduct the astral current, or the subtle current. Now the two brains of the astral system are what? Astral nervous system. What are they? 1,000-rayed lotus, the current therein, and the medulla center. Now you have your spine. What is the astral spine? Corresponds to the physical, or I should rather say the physical is a counterpart of the astral. I'm going from the gross inward, it's easier. But really, the physical nervous system is part of the astral. Now that's what we must realize. If we take care of the astral and the mental nervous system, the physical will be helped. So the astral nervous system has the two brains, the spine, same as the physical, with the deep part and the superficial. What's the deep part? It's the deep part of the astral spine is the sushumna, the astral tube, deep within. In that we find our subtle powers, which comes under the mental nervous system. Remember, the astral nervous system does what? It conducts current, that's all. Only it isn't nervous energy like the physical, it is life force. So going back to the spine, we have two parts of the spine, the deep spine of the sushumna, in which we find the 5 centers of the spine. The 5 subtle centers of the astral nervous system. They're real. They can be seen. The astral nervous system is made up of life force. The centers can be seen. The currents can be seen. It's not imagination. The deep part has the 5 centers. The superficial part, which corresponds, or rather which the sympathetic nervous system corresponds to, are those 2 currents I spoke of, the era and pingular current on the right and left side of the spine. And remember, the amount of current in those 2 big nerves of the astral nervous system corresponding to our sympathetic nervous system in the physical nervous system, the amount of current in those determines your bodily health. Determines how nervous you are. So you can see what I'm leading at. Take care of those 2 currents. So there you have the astral nervous system. And the telephone wires of the astral nervous system are the currents in the body, the 10 senses. Those are all astral currents. Those are rays of light. The 5 of knowledge, the 5 of sensation, plus the 5 pranas. Those deep currents which take care of the vegetative functions of the body. So we have those wires running all through it, just like the physical, only they're astral. They're made up of life force. The 10 senses plus the 5 pranas. Those constitute the telephonic system of the astral nervous system. Now going on just a little bit, we come to the mental nervous system. Before that, what is the matrix? Remember, these are important things. What's the matrix of the physical nervous system? Material things, matter. What's the matrix of the astral nervous system? Life force. Current, see? Now we go on to the mental nervous system. First, the function of the astral system is that, remember, the life force is behind all of your bodily activity. Just like you have a spine, you have an astral spine which produced this physical spine. You have a hand made of matter. Behind that is the astral hand. And so remember, the astral nervous system is very important because that is behind the physical, and what affects that affects your physical nervous system. Now we come to the most subtle. Most subtle of the three systems is the mental nervous system. There we have the same things. I'm making it easy for you. Same things. We have the brain, spine, plus the telephonic system. Now, how about the brains of the mental system? What are they? There are two just the same. They are the cosmic entity, or rather the cosmic consciousness of God. That's one of the brains of the mental nervous system. What's the other? Christ consciousness. One we find where? In the region of the thousand-rayed lotus. Cosmic consciousness is found at this point. The kingdom of God is within. Now the other brain is the consciousness of the medulla center, or Christ consciousness. There you have the two brains. Now what is the mental spine? The mental spine are the perceptions found in the centers of energy of the astral spine. Like the 5 centers in the spine, the perception of those, the knowing of those, the feeling of those, the willing in connection with those constitutes the mental spine. The mental spine is made up of perception. Perceptions in the form of very subtle currents flowing back and forth. So there we have the mental spine made up of perceptions of these various parts of the astral spine. Now, the telephonic system simply means the perception behind every form of energy flowing in the astral nervous system. How do you perceive sensation? Because through the physical end organ, through the gross nervous energy that flows from the end organ back to the brain, behind that is the astral current of sensation flowing from the sense organ to the mental nervous system, and in there it is perceived. It is not perceived in the other two at all. It's not perceived in the physical nervous system. It feels as if you do all right. If you touch a stove, it feels as if you're burned. But you do not feel it in the physical nervous system. You do not feel it in the astral. You feel it where? In the mental system. Therefore, the function of the mental system is perception. And the powers that you have, the subtle powers, are located where? In the deep mental spine, in the deep sushumna, in the deep sympathetic nervous system. That's where you feel and perceive all things, right deep within. So, in the mental spine is the mental perception of the deep astral spine and the superficial spine. That's how we know these things. And remember, your subtle powers depend, just like your power of the body or the health of the body, depending on the current in the astral nervous system, your subtle powers depend upon the current in the mental nervous system. Therefore, the function of the mental nervous system is this. It is behind all the systems. No system could exist except that mental system is there, wherein the power of God gives us the ability to know things, to perceive things. You understand now? In the mental nervous system, we can perceive all things. We can perceive. We have the power in the mental nervous system to expand our consciousness to eternity and beyond. We have the power in the mental nervous system, in the mental brain, to contract our consciousness to the smallest, to eternity. We have that perception. We also have the perception of the oscillation of thoughts. We can think. Why? Because of the mental nervous system. And finally, in the mental nervous system, we have eternal perception. Eternal perception. We can know through the mental nervous system, the contents of the centers of the spine. We can know all those things. We perceive all sensations. We can know the centers of the spine. What each center of the spine, what it's there for, what it's doing. And finally, we have the eternal perception of God's omniscience through the mental nervous system. That's the function of the mental nervous system. The function of the physical is to coordinate the body. The function of the astral is to cause a harmonious flow of life force so that the body will function properly. And the function of the mental nervous system is to give eternal perception to all things, to life in general. So there you have the three systems in a few words. We could talk hours on this. But in a few words, remember, those are the functions of the three nervous systems. Now, as I told you, the matrix, so you won't forget now, the matrix of the physical nervous system is what? Material things. The matrix of the astral nervous system is what? Life force. And the matrix of the mental nervous system is the fine, subtle perception of the prana within us, which is the creative life force, the intelligent life force. The currents in the astral nervous system are blind, but the currents in the mental nervous system, whereby you perceive and know your oneness with God, are active, are creative. And so the matrix of the mental nervous system is that fine presence of God's great mind within you, so that you can perceive all things if necessary. So now we come to what you're all waiting for, is the remedies for this nervousness. The remedies. The point is this. Remember, whatever nourishes any system, mental, astral, or physical, is its remedy. Isn't that so? Whatever nourishes it, whatever feeds it. So how about the mental nervous system? The cure for trouble in the mental nervous system is what? Is calmness. Calmness. When you have calmness come over you, then the bliss of God will flow through you. And so, the remedy for the mental nervous system is calmness. Still the waves of the mind. You know, we always say that. Still the waves of the mind, so God's great power can flow through you. How to do this? We'll come to that in a minute. But through meditation, through proper meditation. Like we read the scriptures. Through that meditation on the 91st Psalm, and you can perceive yourself at this point and know that God is with you. You'll have all the calmness you need. That's the food for the mental nervous system. Calmness. Now going on, food for the astral. Food for the astral nervous system is what? The astral nervous system perhaps is jittery. The current isn't flowing evenly. What's the remedy? Self-control. Self-control. Control those currents in the astral nervous system. How? You have the method. One of the greatest methods is what? Hong Saw. Hong Saw calms down the flow, or rather causes the flow in the astral nervous system from its brain, through the spine, through all the telephonic wires. Hong Saw smooths it out, calms it, gives you self-control. And the greatest thing to remember is this, that if the astral nervous system is calm, if the currents are flowing properly through the centers of the spine, deep and superficial, through the different nerves I have spoken of in the astral system, as the 5 pranas, and the 10 senses, if the current is flowing evenly there, what happens to the physical nervous system? The physical nervous system is benefited tremendously. That's the key. Don't only try to heal your body and your bodily nerves, but heal the astral nervous system by the practice of self-control through the techniques of self-realization, the greatest of which is the Hong Saw technique. I've seen people, they couldn't sit still 2 minutes, jittery, jumping up and down, couldn't keep still. They do a little Hong Saw, and you see them quiet down. Why? Because the current in the astral nervous system is subdued, it's harmonized, it flows evenly, and the body falls in line. These are facts, I tell you. That's why what the Master has given us for self-realization, these different techniques are invaluable, because they go not to the superficial cause in the physical nervous system, but they go to the deep cause within, in the astral and in the mental nervous system. So remember, the cure for nervousness of the astral nervous system is self-control, through the following of the techniques of one who had that self-control, had control over his astral nervous system. And the important thing is that if you control the astral nervous system, what happens? This is important. I forgot to mention this. If you control the flow of current in the astral nervous system, that allows the physical nerves and the physical nervous system to cool off. They're overstimulated. They're burned up. They're irritated. It allows them to cool off. Then nature or God within us heals them. The nerves can heal. There's no question. They used to say even the kidneys and highly specialized organs would not heal. They do heal. They found out they will heal if you remove the irritation. So the same with nervous tissue. It's highly specialized. But if you give it a chance, so to speak, by stopping the stimulation from the astral nervous system, that overstimulation, then the nerves will heal themselves. So that's one of the greatest things, is to know how to remedy trouble in the astral nervous system. And finally we come to the physical nervous system. What are the remedies? Nerve food. I used to read the old ads, nerve tonic, nerve tonic, nerve tonic. That's right, but what are they? There used to be phosphates, a lot of stuff, I've forgotten now. But the thing is, the remedies for the physical nervous system are nerve food. What really sustains and nourishes, as I said in the beginning, whatever nourishes the system is its cure. So, nerve food plus control of physical action. Remember, we're dealing now with material things. So we're going to start right with the food. Now, the first thing, meat is not good, especially in highly nervous persons. Why? Right off, we know that only a 65%, I believe it is, of the flesh proteins are digested by the body. The rest does what? Floats around in the bloodstream, and what's it do? Irritates the tissue of the body. Nervous tissue is a part of that tissue. Therefore, we should stop eating of meat if we're going to help and cure our nervousness trouble in the physical nervous system. That's the first thing. Now, that's the negative thing. Now, the positive thing is to eat live food. Eat live food. You know, though, we've been all through that. Eat live foods. Goat's milk is one of the greatest things. Goat's milk is a nerve food. These are the Master's words. Goat's milk. Even cow's milk is good. But in this climate here, be careful of cow's milk. Goat's milk. Cottage cheese. Lettuce. Lettuce is a nerve food, if you can digest it. Almonds. And the greatest thing is lime drinks. Lime drinks are wonderfully cooling to the nervous system. The Master came one summer, I remember. It was awful hot in Boston. And so we had Mrs. Lewis keep filling the pitcher up, and we drank the lime drink. It has to be made just right. Not too sour, not too sweet. If it's too sour, it irritates you. Not too sour, not too sweet. It's wonderful cooling for the nerves. So these are the foods we must eat. Juices especially lime drinks. Now the second is control of physical action. That's very important. I said in the beginning, any excess of action is bad for all nervous systems. So we must control action in remedying trouble with the physical nervous system. We must control physical action, but also mental action, because mental action gives off much more byproducts than does physical action. So I'm including mental action. Physical action we must control. We must control the physical action in the form of sex. Greed. And the Master used to always say, don't talk too much. Don't talk too much. It really irritates the nervous system. And when we used to ride with him, he wouldn't allow us to talk at all. That's right, because we must cure the physical nervous system by removing those irritants, one of which is too much action. Too much action. One of the greatest is, do not work too hard. In this life we find ourselves with this terrific pace. It's impossible to keep from burning the nerves out unless you watch these things. And so the remedy for all nervous systems is to do those things, eat those foods which nourish the different systems. Mental nervous system through calm. Feel God in every action. You can do it. Astral nervous system through self-control by the various techniques of meditation, of self-realization. And the physical nervous system, remedy it by following the eating of right food, live food, plus not too much overaction. Overstimulation, remember, is what burns out the nerve. So there you have in a few words all you need to know about curing nervous system. Just to summarize it, obey the health laws, be moderate in your action. Practice self-control not only of the physical, but of all mental systems, of all nervous systems, mental, astral, and physical. But finally, remember, what is the greatest nerve tonic? The greatest nerve tonic is the realization of the presence of God within you. God communion, that's the greatest nerve tonic for the mental, astral, and physical. Feel His presence. Feel His presence. That's the greatest nerve tonic. That's the greatest thing I can tell you. Always have that contact with God. God communion, that's the greatest thing. Now, if you do these things, these few simple rules that I have given, then jumpy nerves must succumb. Fears and apprehensions must go. Security and peace will come when His bliss through us flows. Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for Thy words through the beloved Master and His teaching. Help us to realize, above all things, contact with Thee is the greatest healing agent for all trouble, including nervous. Help us to depend on Thee more and more, entering into the secret place of the Most High. Thy great love. Om. Peace.